Good afternoon, everybody. This is Paul Ura. Can I get someone to just quickly in the questions feature, let me know that you can hear me, but also that you can see our first winter weather briefing slide. Thank you, everybody. We'll get started in a few minutes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paul Ura. I'm the warning coordination meteorologist here at the Austin San Antonio National Weather Service office. This will be our 2 p.m. Monday, January 6th winter weather briefing. As you can tell, if you've stepped outside today, it's a little bit colder than it was over the weekend. Arctic front has come in, and with that, as typical around here, if we start getting some precipitation chances and the Arctic air is still around, then we have some ice chances. And so we're going to talk about the cold air that's over us right now, how long it's going to last, and then the precipitation chances that are going to be creeping into the forecast late Wednesday, mainly on Thursday, then exiting on Friday. So the important updates for today, cold weather advisory is again going to be in effect overnight, mainly for the cold temperatures and also some wind chills. The probabilities are increasing for some winter precipitation across portions of south central Texas. The next briefing will be tomorrow at the same time on Tuesday. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording of the webinar along with a PDF of the slides will be emailed out as soon as the webinar is completed. It typically takes me about an hour or so to get that done. There is a questions feature in the GoToWebinar that we have a lot of people on, so everybody's going to remain muted. But if you would like to ask a question, I'll try to get to the questions at the very, very end. So type in your question, and we'll handle those at the very, very end. If at any point it appears that like I'm outrunning my slides and somehow the slides are not advancing, just shoot me that sort of comment in the questions feature, and I'll try to correct. But hopefully the internet behaves itself, and we'll get started with the briefing. So what are the main points? The main points are that the Arctic air is in place, and it's going to be in place for much of the week. In fact, we had a cold weather advisory this morning for really low wind chills. That will be again in effect for overnight tonight into early Tuesday morning. An upper level storm system will spread clouds and precipitation across much of the state and south central Texas starting late Wednesday all the way into Thursday and then exiting on Friday. So some of the areas of south central Texas will likely be impacted by some winter precipitation. Others, maybe not, maybe just a cold rain. Favorite areas of impact for this possible wintry mix would be the hill country, the Edwards Plateau, northern sections of I-35. So what I mean by that is mainly north of the Interstate 10, Highway 90 corridor. So the closer you are to the coast, the more chances you have for a very, very cold rain. The further away you get from the coast, you're probably going to be running into some higher chances of some possible ice and snow. The exact totals of the ice and snow are still uncertain. So it's going to be pretty vague today on the briefing. We hope to, on our briefings tomorrow and then on Wednesday, get more specific about actual totals of what we may be expecting. There is an increasing confidence, though, that the ice and sleet may outweigh the snow in this sort of event. The snow, I think, will be probably well northwest of our area, but most of the models coming in are more concentrating on the freezing rain and sleet issue for us. And travel in other areas of the Texas are going to be impacted, especially West Texas, Northwest Texas, and including North Texas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There is going to be a slight warm up on Friday and Saturday with precipitation ending by Friday morning, Friday afternoon here. But the temperatures will stay below normal for basically all the way into probably next week. So the cold weather is here to last for at least a little bit. So what are the current conditions? Just wanted to show this really quick at 1 p.m. Last hour. So you can see temperatures across North Texas into the 30s. Most areas across the state are technically above freezing right now. We're hovering, I'll have a zoom in map here over the next slide, mainly in the 30s and 40s across much of the state, far southern Texas 50s. This high pressure area that's centered over north of the United States is going to be kind of coming down and kind of just surging in that nice Arctic air over the next couple of days, and that's why we're going to remain cold enough for those ice chances and snow chances come late Wednesday into portions of Thursday. A zoom in on the 1 p.m. temperatures and wind chills across our south central Texas region. You can see 30s out in the hill country, 40s across I-35 corridor and portions of the coastal plains, while the wind chills, because the winds are still gusty out there, tend to be primarily in the 30s everywhere. So what is expected tonight? The temperatures are going to be getting cold again and dropping below freezing. And with the wind that is still left over, we're still expecting some wind chills tonight. And the wind chills will primarily be in that 15 to 20 degree range. And of course, what that means is that there's going to be a risk for hypothermia and the typical sort of cold weather issues that you get with that sort of cold temperature. So make sure you're dressed appropriately. And with those expected wind chills that we're going to be getting, we think, there is going to be another cold weather advisory in effect. It technically goes into effect at 3 a.m. tonight, lasting all the way through 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So this is probably going to be the last day that we expect at least the cold weather advisories, because the wind is going to be kind of getting knocked down a bit. But that's probably not going to be the last of any sort of watch, warning, and advisory we're going to have, just in particularly the cold weather advisory. So one more night dealing with some wind chills. So Tuesday, we're actually going to be warming up probably to about 50 degrees tomorrow. And so still mainly sunny skies, no real issues except for the cold morning temperatures. As we get into Wednesday, you can see the morning temperature low map on the far left, again, reaching down into below freezing out in the hill country. Elsewhere, hovering around that freezing mark in the lower 30s. High temperatures on Wednesday still only in about 40 degrees, maybe mid to upper 30s in the hill country. So still very, very cool, lasting all the way into Wednesday. Now on Thursday, this is where things will start to get interesting from a forecast perspective. Low temperature on Thursday on the left, high temperature on the right. You can see again, low temperatures expected around or near freezing for much of south central Texas. and high temperatures on Thursday only expected to probably stay in the 30s. Now, when we do start to see the precipitation does a really good job of basically, and the clouds, of keeping our temperatures down. So what you see on this map for our high temperatures on Thursday may be a little bit too high, depending on how much precipitation we actually start getting. So this may be a best case scenario for us, warming into near 40 degrees or so in some of these areas and above freezing in the hill country. If we're getting the precipitation that we probably think we're going to get, probably knock some degrees off these high temperatures. And so that's what's going to be some of the issue, is that this low pressure area that's going to be forecasted to come out of Mexico and cross the state on Thursday primarily is going to be causing these precipitation chances. In fact, this upper level low pressure center is probably going to be forming a low pressure at the surface off the coast. Those in tandem is what's going to be giving our large precipitation shield that goes across much of the state. Areas that are going to be basically at or above freezing and be getting the cold rain, and elsewhere is going to be that mix of either snow, sleet, or the freezing rain. So that's what we're going to be trying to, over the next several days, getting more specific as to where those different cold rain versus mix versus snow areas are going to be occurring. I wanted to show you a couple of maps here. This is what we've been looking at with over the last couple of days. These are the winter storm impacts, or at least the probabilities of getting winter storm impacts. So what you're seeing here are the chances of getting minor impacts. And I've highlighted minor here, which in this definition means expecting a few inconveniences to daily life, including some winter driving conditions, basically using caution while driving. So as we can see, by already late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning at 12 a.m., we're seeing that there's going to be some light chances here. So you're talking about some low chances of 5 to 10% across portions of south central Texas. You can see where the upper level storm system would be highlighting and increasing the winter sort of impacts across West Texas first. So by Wednesday night and early Thursday morning, we're just now going to be seeing the possibility of some minor impacts hitting across south central Texas. As we get into 6 p.m. Thursday, you can see how the likelihood is actually increased across much of northwest Texas, including West Texas going all the way up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, upwards of 50% chance of having at least minor impacts of winter weather. As you can see across our region of south central Texas, the hill country, getting into the 30 and 40 and 50% chance of impacts, likelihood of impacts, and across the I-35 corridor, into that 20 or 30% chance of getting some sort of minor impacts. As we get into late Friday night into early Friday morning, you can kind of see now, I've now switched over to moderate impacts. And so moderate impacts where we have hazardous weather conditions, cloud closures, and possible even disruptions to infrastructure, Dallas-Fort Worth area, up into that region. We are still in the south central Texas area and I-35 corridor, still hanging around that 20 or 30% chance of getting this likelihood of impact. So not a slam dunk by any means. And again, because we're kind of on that cusp of just either a cold rain or this wintry mix, until some of the newer models come in that kind of are a little bit more high resolution, which will happen starting tomorrow and then especially into Wednesday, we'll hopefully have a little bit better idea of what kind of impacts we're going to be getting, and then also what kind of possible ice accumulations we could be expecting, especially out into the hill country and our northern areas. Right now, we don't have any sort of possible ice totals for you on any sort of map. We hope to kind of really fine tune the forecast and get into that, especially tomorrow. So, do want to review the definitions of the winter weather advisories versus a winter storm watch and winter storm warning. And it all comes down to impacts. If we're expecting just basically travel difficulties with no major impacts to infrastructure, we'll typically be issuing the winter weather advisories. If we are expecting considerable travel problems, that's where the watches and the warnings will typically come into play. The watches coming out maybe as early as 48 hours ahead of the travel problems, and the winter storm warning being issued 12 to 36 hours ahead of the actual event. So be on the lookout for tomorrow and especially on Wednesday as to what possible product we may be issuing. But these are the definitions, and this is how we make those decisions based on primarily the travel impacts, but then also how much ice or snow accumulation we're actually going to be expecting. You want to highlight how you can keep track of your particular area with your chances of precipitation and your temperatures. They have a nice little table here on our forecast points webpage. Here is the website, weather.gov/forecast points. The QR code can be utilized as well. They have a table with daily sort of max and min totals, as well as hourly graphs that go out to 7 days. So I highly suggest you bookmark this webpage and use it. It is the same data that is coming straight from our weather.gov/EWX website, but just a little bit better of a presentation with colors and the graphs. We've been getting a lot of questions already about travel, especially up to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, over especially Thursday and Friday. And obviously the best place to go for that sort of information is TxDOT and their drivetexas.org website. All the district offices will be keeping this updated with road closures and road conditions. So for media, newspapers, websites that are trying to get road conditions already, obviously it's a little bit too early to tell, but this is a great situation awareness site to go to get that information. And this is just a rehash of that second slide that we had on here. So if you came in a little bit late, the Arctic air is here. There's a cold weather advisory in effect tonight through early tomorrow morning for those somewhat low wind chills. Not as cold as we had last night, but still cold enough for an advisory. The upper level storm system that is approaching on late Wednesday night into all day Thursday moving across the state is going to bring some winter weather across the state. It just depends on the temperatures then as to how much that will impact South Central Texas. We still think the further south you go and the further southeast you go toward the coast, the lesser your impacts of winter weather, cold rain. Where that dividing line is going to be, maybe I-35, it may be Interstate 10, it may be Highway 90, it may be just the hill country. We're going to get those details hopefully sorted out over the next couple of days. There is an increasing confidence that the ice and sleet possibility for at least most of South Central Texas will be a little bit higher than any sort of snow that we may be getting. The snow may be confined a little bit further to the northwest, based off some of the models of what we're seeing right now. But obviously travel across most of Texas, especially north and northwest of us, is going to be impacted. So please be aware of that. And the slight warm up is going to be happening, but it's not going to be until probably the weekend, but overall below normal temperatures all the way into next week. And then finally, weather.gov/safety/winter. If you're a jurisdiction and you want to be sharing out some safety graphics, all the graphics that you see on this website with the QR code as well, you can use. They are here for your use. There's ones on driving in snow, the difference between watch and warning, protecting the people, pets, pipes and plants, as well as hypothermia and everything you can kind of think of winter weather-wise. They have a good graphic that you can share on social media and on your platforms. So that is it. Our next briefing will be at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, tomorrow. You can see our contact information on the side there as well with our phone number and our alert email. So I'll take a little bit of time here. I'll read through some of the questions and see what we have. So stand by as I pan through some of the questions. Christy is asking, is there any chance that any of our CWA is going to be remain below freezing on Thursday with precipitation? The answer is yes. As I kind of stated, even though our official high temperatures are kind of into the 30s on Thursday, if the precipitation, we've seen this before, if the precipitation occurs, that tends to sometimes even drop temperatures. So yes, that is a possibility. And of course, that would then go with the issue of, is the ice that is falling, is it going to stick? Or is it going to stick around for most of the day? So again, we'll hopefully have some more details on that sort of possibility tomorrow and then also on Thursday. And yes, the slide deck will be shared. I'm going to be I'll be making the slides PDF and the recording will be shared out to everybody. Do watches encompass the entire county? The answer is yes. So if, as we've seen before, the advisories that we issue and the winter storm watches and warnings are all issued by county. So we do not subdivide a county up with that. So that has been an issue in the past a little bit when it comes to Bexar County, since especially down in San Antonio, and also this happens in Travis County. Areas of topography in the hills west of Travis County and the northern section of Bexar County tend to be colder, and so you tend to have a little bit higher threat of ice in those regions. But yes, the whole county will actually get a watch or a warning or an advisory if we wind up having to do that. An estimate of total precipitation. We do not have an estimate as of yet. So again, we're hopefully going to be getting to some of the high resolution models tomorrow. That will hopefully help with some sort of either rainfall total or ice accumulation total as of right now. So it does look like the worst of ice and snow totals would be north and northwest of our South Central Texas region. But that at least the chance for some minor impacts are definitely here. And so, and particularly that would probably happen on a Thursday. Is there a standard weather app that you should be using to stay on top of the weather changes? Weather.gov/EWX website is the best place, obviously, to get our official forecast. Obviously, some of the TV stations have their own weather apps. The only thing I would say is to please stay away from the free weather apps that come on the cell phones. They are inputting data directly right from a computer model with no human interaction or no human correction to it. So either stick to our local media partners or stick to the National Weather Service for getting those weather updates. Is facility readiness recommended for Wednesday through Friday, and particularly Thursday and Friday? I mean, obviously readiness is yeah, right? Everybody should be prepared for winter right now. But in particularly the ice impacts or snow impacts or just winter weather impacts in general will be probably peaking on that Thursday, and then hopefully lasting only maybe through early Friday morning. Someone is asking about an invite for tomorrow. You can use this exact same link for tomorrow. Once you register once for the GoToWebinar, you are registered for all of the daily webinars all the way through Friday, if we have to still do them all the way through Friday. So no additional invites. You can use the invite that you used and log on tomorrow as well. Is there any warm air aloft, or is the Arctic air, cold air replace that? So as the way this setup is happening is that the cold air is at the surface, and then as we get into Wednesday and Thursday and the low pressure area approaches us, the warm air will ride up and over that, and that's what's going to be causing our clouds and our what we call overrunning precipitation and our chances of freezing rain and sleet and snow and all of that. So the Arctic air will kind of remain in place. It's heavy, it stays close to the ground, and then the warm air rides up and over that. We are still planning on putting out daily situation reports. Someone was asking about that. We'll probably switch it over probably twice a day. So probably I'm going to ask our operational folks to, we're putting one out this afternoon. It may have already come out around this time. And then we'll hopefully go back to having one in the morning and then one in the afternoon for everybody. Any idea of worst case ice accumulation for Austin? Not yet, no. I wouldn't want to even guess because we're teetering right on that freezing line right now. I will say this is a different type of scenario than what we've seen in our very most recent big ice storm and ice events, in that this cold air mass that's over us right now is not as cold as what some of the previous Arctic air masses were when we had some of those other bigger ice events. So that helps us out in that it will only take a little bit of a moderation of temperature to kind of keep us in cold rain. But again, the chances are here for us to get some sort of wintry mix at least. So we'll just have to keep looking at the forecast and keep trying to get to some sort of at least better idea of how much accumulation is possible in some areas. Can you put this, James was asking if we could put the state risk slide back up for a second. I'm not sure which state risk slide you were referring to, James, to be honest. I'm not sure if you were talking about some of the winter storm impact maps. If you could clarify for me. Okay, thank you, James. Yeah, so again, this is chance of the likelihood of impact. So again, sometimes it doesn't matter exactly how much ice is accumulating on things, especially to give us travel impacts. So part of the winter storm impacts graphics that our One National headquarters creates dives into all the different models and kind of creates these likelihoods for us. And so there'll be some additional maps I'll be able to show tomorrow and the next day with percentages and possible percentages of different accumulation levels. So it just right now it's outside of that basically 48, 60 hour sort of time frame. So but as we get into tomorrow, there'll be more data to show, more maps for me to show, and hopefully that'll give you a little bit better idea of what that is. As of right now, no map is showing any sort of major impacts over us as of right now, James, for this winter storm impacts possibility. Again, that can change, but only the minor and moderate ones are what I was showing today. So again, the moderate impact map right now is showing still actually fairly low likelihood, less than 30% for our area of having some sort of moderate impact. So that's good news as of right now. Again, it can change, and that's why we're going to be doing this again tomorrow, and we'll kind of see what happens. I think that is all the questions that came in. So again, I appreciate you joining us today. I will try to get this recording out and the slides out ASAP. And with that, stay informed. Make sure you share slides with some of your colleagues if you need to. And for folks that were not able to make it on today's webinar, please make sure that they're able to join tomorrow and especially on Wednesday as we get closer to the possible event over South Central Texas. So with that, have a good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining.